Beginning on the section of neuroanatomy, let us first look at the organization of the nervous system. There will be a central nervous system which include the brain and spinal cord, and then there is a peripheral nervous system which will have to include the nerves and the ganglia. Peripheral nervous system embryologically is contributed by the neural crest cells, though not entirely. And central nervous system is contributed by the neural tube as such embryologically. Now, as we talk about gray and white matter is collection of the neuron bodies which could be in the CNS, PNS, and white matter is collection of the axons which could again be in the CNS, PNS. Various terminologies are used which we have to become aware about. So when you're talking about a neuron, it will have a neuron body and axon, and if you're collecting the neuron bodies, it will be gray matter. But if you're collecting the axons, it will be white matter, which could be in the CNS, PNS. As you're talking about CNS, they will be forming cortex, nucleus, like trochlear nucleus, thalamic nucleus, brainstem nucleus, and what in the PNS they'll be called as ganglion. What is a ganglion? It is collection of neuron bodies but in the peripheral nervous system. So as we are telling, the CNS can have some neuron bodies collection making a cortex, or maybe some basal nuclei, and even the spinal cord nuclei. But if it is a collection of neuron bodies in the PNS, there will be ganglia, like you have dorsal root ganglia, the sympathetic ganglia, parasympathetic ganglia. What about the collection of axons then? Collection of axons, if it is in the CNS, central nervous system, then it can have various names, like you can say tracts or fasciculus or lemniscus, even capsule. And if you have collection of neurons in the peripheral nervous system, then we'll call it a nerve. Nerve is nothing but collection of axons carrying some information up and down. And what about the tracts, like internal capsule also? It is just collection of axons, tracts, lemnisci, fasciculi. Let us write this down ourselves also. So as you are talking about the details, you'll find that we are having a neuron body here, yes, and axon. This is a neuron body and axon. Now you will look at a collection of neuron bodies and axons. When you're looking at the collection of the neuron bodies, that will be called as the gray matter, and if you are talking about the collection of axons, that will be called as the white matter. And this white matter can be in the CNS, PNS. Similarly, the gray matter can be in the CNS, PNS. Then what will you call the gray matter in the CNS? Actually, if you have collection of neuron bodies in the CNS, you can call it as nucleus. For example, brainstem nucleus, spinal cord nucleus, thalamic nucleus. What is a nucleus? Collection of neuron bodies in the CNS. Then what do you call it in the PNS? Like a ganglion. What is a ganglion? Ganglion, the definition is, ganglion is defined as the collection of neuron bodies but in the peripheral nervous system. Embryologically, it would have come from, see, if it is a neural tube, it will form the CNS nuclei, and if it is the neural crest cells, then they will form the ganglia, peripheral ganglia. Since neural tube is contributing to central nervous system, it will form CNS nuclei. And since the neural crest cell contribute to peripheral nervous system, they will form the ganglia. Actually, most of the ganglia in our body are contributed by neural crest cell, though it is not entirely specific, because there are some ganglia which can be contributed in addition with neural crest cell by the placodes, ectodermal placodes. So there are some ectodermal placodes which will be contributing to some ganglia along with the neural crest cells. You mean to say there are some ganglia which are not purely from neural crest cell? No, that is neural crest cell plus ectodermal placodes. So there are some ganglia which is not purely from neural crest cell, and they are also having additional contribution by ectodermal placodes. Can you name some? Yes, there are some. For example, you can talk about the trigeminal ganglion or vestibulocochlear ganglion. So trigeminal ganglion, vestibulocochlear ganglia, they are not purely from the neural crest cell. No. And they do have some contribution from ectodermal placodes. Yes. Now I'll tell you one misnomer here. You see that the basal ganglia is a misnomer. Why would you say basal ganglia is a misnomer? Because, you cannot have ganglia inside the brain. Then what should I call it as? You should call it as basal nuclei. That is the correct term. So basal ganglia is a misnomer because you cannot have ganglia inside the brain. So what should I call it as? You should better call it as basal nuclei. That will be correct. So it works like a misnomer. We use it, but it is wrong to say ganglia. Now let us look at one misnomer in the white matter. When you're talking about the white matter, what is white matter called in the CNS? If you are talking about the white matter in the CNS, there will be various names given. What are the various names given to the white matter in the CNS? It can be called as a tract or fasciculi or lemnisci or capsule. For example, this could be a pyramidal tract or it could be fasciculus gracilis, or it could be medial lemniscus, or it could be internal capsule. So you're telling that if I have got collection of the axons in the central nervous system, then various terminologies are used like tract, fasciculi, lemnisci, capsule. Yes, maybe pyramidal tract or fasciculus gracilis or medial lemniscus or internal capsule. Cut them, see what is inside. Nothing but collection of axons. They have nothing but collection of axons. You are taking a transverse section of pyramidal tract or transverse section of medial lemniscus, fasciculus gracilis, internal capsule. They are nothing but collection of axons carrying some information up and down the CNS, PNS. Then what will you call collection of axons in the PNS? In the PNS, I call it as a nerve. What is a nerve? Nerve is collection of axons. You take a section, you will find there also it's just collection of axons. So now you have taken a section of the nerve. Yes. If you take a section of the nerve, then you will find that it is also some collection of axons. Essentially, they are similar, but there is one difference. What is the difference? The difference is that the CNS is myelinated by oligodendrocytes, but the PNS is myelinated by Schwann cell. Schwann cell, that is the difference. So you are mentioning that though essentially they are just a collection of axons, but the nerves will be myelinated by Schwann cell in the peripheral nervous system. Yes, and CNS myelination is by oligodendrocyte. That is where I'll give you a misnomer. Actually, we are talking about the optic nerve. What about the optic nerve? It's a misnomer. How will you justify that it is a misnomer? Because it is not a nerve. Then what it is? Actually, optic nerve is not a true nerve. If it is not a true nerve, then what it is? It is actually a CNS tract. Now, if you say optic nerve is not a true nerve and it is a CNS tract, can you prove that it is a CNS tract? Yeah, let's do that. But optic nerve is a misnomer. It is not myelinated by Schwann cell. It is myelinated by oligodendrocyte. It is a CNS tract. Myelinated by oligodendrocyte. Let us discuss some more details for optic nerve then. As you say, optic nerve is a misnomer. I'll draw a diagram for that. And as you draw the diagram, you will find this is diencephalon part of the brain. And that diencephalon part of the brain is growing inside the eyeball. And when it is growing inside the eyeball, it will contribute to retina. You mean to say retina is an extension of the diencephalon, part of the brain, into eyeball? Yes, actually, retina is the extension of diencephalon, part of the brain, into the eyeball, and it is a part of CNS. Retina is a part of central nervous system. Now, in the retina, you found a cell, and that cell is called ganglion cell neuron. And that ganglion cell neuron is collecting some visual information, and that visual information is being carried towards the brain by some axons. So you're telling that there is some ganglion cell neuron in the retina? Yes, and collecting visual information, carrying the visual information towards the central nervous system by the collection of axons, and this collection of axons is making the optic nerve. Hence proved that optic nerve is a CNS tract. Now, when you say optic nerve is a CNS tract, it is not myelinated by Schwann cell. It is not myelinated by Schwann cell, and it is actually myelinated by the oligodendrocyte. Now, if it is the oligodendrocytes which are myelinating the optic nerve and not the Schwann cell, you know what will happen if there is injury to optic nerve? It will never regenerate. Why the optic nerve will never regenerate? Because it does not have Schwann cell sheath. See, once the optic nerve is damaged, it will never regenerate because it does not have the Schwann cell sheath, which is required for regeneration. It is actually myelinated by oligodendrocyte. This is one point. Point two. When we are talking about multiple sclerosis, which is a problem of CNS myelination, it is a problem of the oligodendrocytes. It will spare the peripheral nerves. When you're talking about multiple sclerosis, which is a problem of the CNS myelination, problem of oligodendrocyte, it is going to spare peripheral nervous system. Why? Because peripheral nervous system is myelinated by Schwann cell, and this is not a problem of Schwann cell. Multiple sclerosis, which is a problem of CNS myelination, cannot spare the optic nerve. Optic nerve is definitely going to get involved in the multiple sclerosis because it is a part of CNS to be myelinated by oligodendrocyte, so cannot escape the injury of multiple sclerosis. Multiple sclerosis may be sparing some of the peripheral nerves, but it will definitely involve the optic nerve, which is in fact not a nerve, it is a CNS tract.